Oh my gosh, I'm so ready for this. I feel like I'm being interrogated about anime.
You kind of are. Yeah.
I'm so ready. I'll try my best to explain what I can. I don't know everything because, shit's fucked up in anime. Can we curse?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
We're
awesome.
gonna curse.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There's going to be cursing.
Yeah.
The show is probably rated TV MA. Does it even air? Anyways, hi, this is Reina Scully.
Reina Scully, a guest we have been trying to get on this show since we first conceived of it because you have a very strong background in the Japanese animation known as anime.
Indeed, in Japanimation.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah,
will.
and you actually speak Japanese.
I do, yes.
You don't even need the subs or the dubs.
No, I don't.
You were one of the first recommendations when we announced that we were going to be doing this show. That were people were like, first of all, get Reina. Second of all, get Reina to do Food Wars.
Oh my god, I think I saw that on Twitter.
Yeah. So we did it. Your wish is we fulfilled it. That's it. So yeah, this show very weird.
Yes,
So
very
far-
sexy.
So far, we've done Dragon Ball. Okay, so we all have like our. Me and Elliot have like what we thought anime would be when we started this.
Sure,
We saw
yeah.
Dragon Ball.
Of course,
We've seen
classic.
One Punch Man now. And
Oh,
we've
so
seen
good.
Attack on Titan. And all of those have different interpretations of exactly what I thought anime would be. This one is another perfect example of what I imagined anime
This
would
is
be.
actually
It is, yeah.
This is actually the most anime I've seen.
I understand that. Yeah, it definitely fits all the tropes that
Mm-hmm.
you would understand in what anime would be, and also kind of what makes it bizarre and stand out,
Yes.
especially in this day and age in terms of comedy. So I get that, and it's also
Oh, that's comedy they were doing?
well, wrapped up in
Yeah.
comedy.
Yeah. So,
we
like-
wrap it up in a bow.
Like with something like One Punch Man, I
Yes.
can relate to that sense of humor very easily.
Yeah.
There's nothing lost in translation.
Mm-hmm.
With Food Wars, it's not even a language barrier. It's a like
Lifestyle, culture barrier?
It's an
Yeah.
entire cultural barrier.
It is.
Like even just in the way the storytelling works, where they're like, there's parts of it like jumping between completely unrelated scenes, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck's going on?
True, it does happen, especially because I think I gave you guys 3. You asked me for 3.
We should mention the.
Yeah, how this
why don't you
works.
tell the audience what episodes we watched?
So I was told to source 3 of either my favorite, the weirdest, or whatever bizarro episodes there can be for Food Wars. And I chose my favorite from season 1, which should have been the Madonna of the Polar Star.
Episode 4.
Episode 4. And then the other one would have been one from season 2. I believe it was episode 10, A
Yep.
New Genius is
Yep.
Born. And then season 3, episode 4, again, I think A Young Lion's Pride or Young Lion's
Pride
Pride.
of Young Lions,
Yeah,
or
yep.
however you would say
However,
it.
however got translated, yeah.
And these are available. I watched it all on VRV.
Oh, and
Also
Verve,
on,
yes! Thank
Hulu
you.
has it.
Hulu has it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I got both, so I watched it on VRV. It probably benefits Crunchyroll a bit more if I watch it on VRV.
Actually, they both like work together, and
Yeah.
I believe sometimes when like Crunchyroll crashes, like there's a little bit more like push power for like Verve and stuff. So yeah, it's all
Nice
great.
backup.
Yeah,
and
the,
people, but I just want to address something. People are always like, why do you guys watch, why don't you just watch the first season? Why do you watch a bunch of random scattered episodes? And like, it's because the whole point of this show is kind of jumping into the deep end of an entire like culture and genre that we are completely unfamiliar with, and the most jarring way to do that is with absolutely no context, just jumping into
and
random
also, it
scattered
gives us a nice
episodes.
sampling of
Yes.
what the
Yeah.
entire show has
Entirely.
to offer.
Yeah. At first, I was like, "Oh God, like 3 random episodes. Like, how am I gonna like formulate this or choose this?" But in choosing what my favorite example episodes were, it actually really helped because I realized in watching them, I'm like, "Oh, they'll probably ask about this, which you don't have to know all of this crap for." So by watching random ones, it actually helps you
Yeah.
understand probably the whole dynamic of the show better.
Yeah. Also, the other excuse is that we don't have time to watch an entire
Same.
season before doing this. But it is a lot more fun to just dive into the deep end.
We should ask before. I think we've asked every guest this before we get into the nitty gritty. Like, what was the first anime you got into? Like, what's your sort of history with anime? The brief version of the history of
Brief
anime.
version. I don't even remember what the first anime would be because it's just cartoons in Japan, and I was
Yeah.
born there, and I was there until I was 3, so I don't really know. It was probably Urusei Yatsura, which is this like very sexy alien from space with blue turquoise hair that wears a bikini, like a tiger bikini that looks like thunder, and she like falls in love with this Earth boy, and it's very not made for children, but it was really popular right around when I was younger, so I think it was just on TV all the time. And then when I was conscious of it, I think it was probably something like Saint Tail, which is a magical girl anime, a little bit like a deep cut, a little bit older, and that really made me like understand what anime was, and I like understood like their tropes and their eyes and their hair and their magical transformations, and it gave me like a better understanding of Sailor Moon, which I was just watching for vanity reasons, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like Saint Tail like really made me like get anime.
I like the idea of like a parent who is like a film fanatic is like, I don't know, 8 years old is a little bit young to show my son Clockwork Orange, but Kubrick's a master, and like your parents being like, Reina is ready.
It was
show
just
her the
out there.
darkest, sexiest anime we can find.
Lum is the name of the character, and she's literally too sexy. Like even nowadays, it's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have been out there. But Rumiko Takahashi is a renowned mangaka, so I feel like it was almost like good that I saw it and I was.
Well, and
introduced
Kubrick
to
is an
it.
amazing filmmaker.
There you go.
That's the justification
Not too much
for it.
trauma. Yeah, not too much sexual confusion. Yeah.
To get started with this, I always try to start with, obviously we haven't seen the show before, and I always try to summarize what I think the show is about.
Yes.
And this is the first one where I've actually had no clue, because One Punch Man I've known from conventions because people dress up. Attack on Titan, it's everywhere,
So
so you
popular.
kind of get it. Dragon Ball Z also pretty
Truly, yeah.
everywhere. So this was I wrote down what I thought about this show before I even turned the episode on.
Just by knowing what the world thinks of it, kind of thing, like just by seeing some pictures.
Just what I had pieced together in my head.
Okay,
And the thing
perfect.
is people do send us screenshots of certain animes.
Right,
but
right.
To me, they all look the same.
Yeah.
Which sounds racist, but I don't think it is.
Not at all. I mean, it's all the color palettes are the same in that show, so it
Yeah,
makes sense.
the art
yeah.
style's somewhat similar on
It
a
is.
bunch, but that's just my dumb American brain stitching it all together. So I really had no clue what this was about, and I wrote that what I think I know about this show. Literally nothing. This is the show that I know the least about so far on this podcast. I've only heard it through suggestions from viewers, and all I can picture in my head is people having food fights at a high school.
Oh, so tame.
I imagined it would be something where it is like a Dragon Ball or a One Punch Man, but the fighting involves throwing bowls of rice.
A
Yeah.
very literal
Yes.
interpretation.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I really like that though because it has nothing to do with like the super sexiness of it all, which I guess
wasn't
you didn't know.
expecting that
Yeah, I
at
guess
all.
you didn't see it yet because I was wondering like what kind of screenshots you were sent because normally in talking about this show, like obviously everybody wants to show you all of the absurdities that happen in
Yeah.
it. So I thought maybe you would know that it kind of was going to take this like ecchi route. It's not hentai, by the way.
Okay, so that was the first thing I
Just saying.
I literally, and everything so far on this podcast that we've done, I've always like something will stick out, and I'll be like, I have to go to Twitter, like, and it kind of like makes me happy to kind of put it out there and more inspired to like write questions. And my first reaction with this was I took a screenshot of this is in the first episode we watched, season 1, episode 4, where the woman who runs the dormitory is like describing how good this food is.
Yes.
And I was like, this is funny. And then I clicked send on the tweet and went back and replayed and played the show again. 3 seconds later, went back and was like, is this hentai? Because his food that he prepares for this woman, in what this is how I describe it, his food is so good that she is smashed back in the past to her first orgasm.
Yeah.
And then comes back and is very handsy on accident with this chef. But the food is so good that it literally makes her have a flashback to what I think is her losing her virginity.
Probably, and therefore a real foodgasm.
Yes.
Yeah, so
There's a lot of foodgasm.
I have
Yeah.
to admit that I didn't go into this completely blind. I actually watched episode 1 like several months back. I was a little drunk when I watched it. But
So
it was
you
like,
knew.
But yeah, episode 1, like they right off the bat, like within the first minute, like it's like literal shaking orgasms from
Yeah.
food, like women like crossing their legs
and like
grabbing
twitching.
their crotch. And
I purposefully didn't choose the first episode because the pilot is it's on purpose that they put in as much of that as possible.
Yeah.
In episode 4, it's kind of a running gag at that point, so
Well,
therefore
yeah.
they play on it. But in episode 1, it's honestly too much in my opinion. Like I
Yeah, I
watch
was
it because
just
it's
like,
funny.
what the fuck?
Exactly. Like I could only think like what the fuck in my head. So I figured maybe just one foodgasm would be good.
I
in the
enjoyed
episode.
that you did that because it threw me for such a loop.
Yes.
Whereas if I was thrown in the deep end with the hentai part of it.
Yeah, that's what's wrong with the first episode. It's literally too much. But in the fourth one, you're right. There's a little bit more exposition in establishing why he's there, and you don't have to kind of waste time on it in the first 3 episodes. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm surprised. Okay, so I feel like Food Wars would have been so much fun if your literal expectations were taken into account, because that would be so interesting seeing kind of like this high-powered, almost like fantastical or magical version of like
but
and
they're like shooting food with chopsticks.
Yeah, and and like shurikens and like knives and whatever are like
fattening
weapons.
someone up and he's like, oh, I can't fight.
Oh my god, I love it. That's so good. I'd love that.
Well, Goku would never stop.
The show
would
loves
Luffy.
food too much to let the characters waste.
The show is very in love
True.
with food.
Yes, they would never throw food at each other. So the reality of the show is that it's essentially, I like to explain it like basically a sports anime, but for food. Where
And that's a thing.
Yes, sports anime is its own category. Yeah, absolutely. And there are rivals and competitions, and there are nakama, which is your circle of friends that you kind of journey with. And a lot of the tropes have to do with going away to a school because parents are pretty absent in anime on purpose because they get in the way. You have to kind of, you have to deconstruct the world by being like, well, I have to answer to my mom, I have to go home and sleep. So by getting rid of them and placing them in a dormitory, you get to kind of suspend them in this world where you don't have to answer anything. So it's actually really like purposeful that they're in a dorm and that they're the only dorm that's there, and that they're going to a school that is not abroad, that's like kind of a sleepaway school essentially, and that they journey together there.
It's like a culinary academy, right?
Exactly, and it's also important that they sometimes like go home and they have their own kind of like one-off episodes and journeys and come back with what they've learned, especially with things like internships, or they do like a stagiaire where they study in restaurants where they accumulate different things. So in a way, I know it's ecchi and it's messed up and super sexy and it's basically just food porn, the anime, but it's actually really layered and quite good. Like it's made like a sports anime.
Is this based on a manga?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It has a persistent manga.
Yeah, they mentioned that in the last episode we watched, where they were like, oh, the new like food manga's out, like first edition or whatever.
At the end of the episode where they kind of break the fourth wall.
Also, I mean, I think I have to admit here that this show features the longest outro of any show I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, they play the end credits, and then there's like a full 4 minutes
It's
of
8
stuff to
minutes
happen
and
afterwards.
more stuff, and it's
Yeah.
not really like even necessarily to like lead into the next episode. It's just like
it's like fodder.
epilogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. I was like, because I almost was ready to like, okay, close tab, let's like go to the next one, and I was like, oh, okay.
There's a lot of time
And
left.
it just keeps going.
In my opinion, I'm really biased. I love the first season because there are really succinct arcs in it that make sense, and the timing and pacing is good except for the first couple episodes. And then in season 2, I like it because it's a lot more concentrated on the school, which builds that world a little bit more. But to me, season 3 was really lackluster, so I feel like that happening where the end gets longer and therefore there's less meat of the story is honestly happening more in season 3. But like that's just my
So yeah, it's funny you say that, because so the first season was 24 episodes.
Yes.
Second season was 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And then the third season was back to 24. So do you think they kind of like spread themselves a little too thin with season 3?
Yeah, season 3, I feel like there's always been a lot of good usage of CGI and really, really well animated
That's
portions.
a hot topic in anime
absolutely,
circles.
it really is. And I feel like season 3, they very obviously use CGI as a time and money saver. So I think you're right in that it did spread them a little bit too thin, and they kind of used those methods, and maybe the story isn't as tight as it was. Also, I gotta say, like, the animation is a little bit less. Like, the background characters, their faces are a little bit wonky in season 3.
And
like,
they go back and forth a bit more in the later episodes, where
Yeah.
it's this childish look
Yeah, the
when
like
they're responding
Sanrio
to
style.
things.
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah. Okay, I kind of understand, like, almost like their hair pieces and their colors are so primary.
Yeah, they do
like,
it as a reaction, but I don't understand why, and maybe that's because I didn't see any of the other stuff that led up to that, but it's like, I kept being like, why are they children? Or like, why do they look like Hello Kitty?
I get it.
Briefly?
Yeah, they feel like almost like wackier almost. Yeah, I kind of understand. I feel like maybe they weren't quite sure what to concentrate on. The first season, in my opinion, is golden because they did a really good job doing like the ecchi stuff, and it was enjoyable. And it was too much, and you don't want to watch it in public, but you still enjoy it for what it is.
You would not watch this.
You can't watch
like
this.
on
I
an
mean,
airplane.
headphones for
Off
sure.
the bus.
Oh yeah. But like the aspect of it being kind of like a sports anime, and there's actually a lot of story and heart behind it, and there are a lot of complications and intricacies. That makes it, I feel, like the whole first season was so good because of it, and then the second season, I think they concentrated on one competition, and that's why it was shorter, but it was still well done because they focused on it.
Yeah.
And then in the third season, I'm not sure where they lost focus. Like, they're not concentrating necessarily on the food and the intricacies of it anymore, because that was what they did in season 2. They like really went in like to the chemistry of food, actually. And then
They love umami.
Yeah,
yes, exactly.
Is the people behind this, like, it clearly seems like the writers themselves, or at least like an advisor to them, is like legitimately super fucking into cooking and like molecular gastronomy and all of that.
Well, that's like a cultural thing as well. Like Iron Chef was gigantic in Japan when it originated,
But it's still like, this isn't just like a casual like food person coming up with these like ideas. Like, this seems like
Really
whoever's
strategic.
behind this like actually really loves and is possibly aroused by cooking.
Probably. I will say this. You're right in that Japan treats food very seriously. Delicately is one way to put it as well. But, Japan is polytheistic, where they believe there are many, many gods that are responsible for many things. There is a food god for Japanese people. So
is he fat?
He's very happy.
Well.
But also, like, they're kind of like demi-deities. So they don't really have a face. It's more just like a thought. And also, a lot of Japanese religion and culture has to do with like ancestral things. So like, you talk a lot to your ancestors that have passed, and they have a lot to do with why you do the things you do. And food is heavily related to how you communicate with that. Like, you communicate with other people via food, and therefore you communicate kind of with other beings with food.
Well, I would assume like you would get, recipes passed down through family and tradition that allows them to live on through your cooking.
Yeah.
Which comes through in this, I can't remember if it was the first or second episode where he's on the phone with his dad.
Yes, second episode, yeah.
And he basically, like, his dad dogs him first, and then he's like, well, guess what? I'm out here learning how to cook better than you.
Yeah.
And like, kind of, it's that like trope of the son besting the father. But
Yes.
it really did a good thing, like giving him motivation as to why he wants to be the best at
He's
what he
still
does.
best dad because he knew what to motivate him. And I thought that was pretty beautiful.
Yeah, if I recall in episode 1, like he shuts down the restaurant they both work at because I don't remember his reasons, but he's like, all right, you got to go train.
It's
now."
actually flimsy. He just goes away.
Yeah,
Literally,
okay,
he's
there
just
was
gone.
no reason.
Yeah.
Because they fought, they were like, someone was trying to like buy up their restaurant, and then they cooked
the
an
first
orgasmic
episode.
meal, like convinced them otherwise.
They
So it's like,
saved it.
the restaurant's saved, but also I'm just gonna leave
Goodbye.
anyway.
Yeah. He's not a great dad. I know he said he was best dad. I lied. Like, that was bullshit.
The father figures in animes are questionable at their parenting skills at best.
Yeah, they're all bad dads.
If this was like every other anime we've seen, which is 3 others, it would be the
All the dads
son,
are bad.
The son being like, I want to go train. He's like, fine, get out of here. And the mom going, no,
Yeah.
no, my son, no, you can't go train.
Yeah.
Or the dad goes and trains and never comes back. Goku's literally the worst father ever.
Oh yeah, we know that.
Like,
Yeah,
literally, okay.
we've long held that
believe that
Goku is
Goku's a
a
moron.
terrible father, terrible husband.
Yeah, how does he exist still? But that's why Super's so funny,
Muscles.
because now he's like a villain and there's so many things happening to him.
Oh, is that? Oh,
Whoops.
Side note, what's this Boyan, Boyal, Bosan? What is it?
what are you?
This fucking this it's everywhere. This like meme. Is there like a movie? It's like Dragon Ball Boylan.
Hey, I don't know.
Okay, I'll have to look it up.
I don't know. I'm
It's
so
fucking
sorry.
everywhere.
Yeah,
Even in
yeah.
our comments on regular videos, we're like, you guys gotta watch blah blah blah. I'm like, the fuck even is that?
Oh shit,
It's
I don't
apparently like
know.
a really thick boy Dragon Ball character.
So what does Shokugeki no Soma mean?
Shokugeki literally means to battle with food. Kanji Japanese is really manipulatable because it's a borrowed language from Chinese.
Yeah.
So we as Japanese speakers and readers can manipulate them in one of 3 ways to make them sound however logical we can. So Shokugeki is honestly kind of like a made up word that they mashed 2 kanji together to literally mean food war.
Oh.
Yeah, and Soma's his name, so it's Soma's Food War.
Yeah.
No, he's
Okay.
possessive to me.
Someone literally tweeted me and said that it meant like orgasm through food, and I believed them. The first note I wrote was
That's so good.
I feel bad suggesting Food Wars to Reina. People said it would be a good fit, but I didn't realize this was hentai. To get back to the like,
No
I felt
problem.
bad. I was just like, fuck. Does she know this is hentai?
Oh, this is my jam. This is.
Yeah,
it
there's
definitely appreciates the male gaze.
and well, I mean, like they're not equal opportunity, but there's men butts. They sexualize all these minors in ways that
Yes.
I maybe
It's okay, they're cartoons.
Are they
conditioned
minors?
to find no, they're like 15.
No,
It says it at one
listen.
point.
Yeah, but look
they
at
really?
they are drawn like they are 24.
Yeah,
Are
it
they
doesn't
not?
matter. And the men's
Like-
voice, the boys' voices,
yeah.
there's like fully grown men.
And also, like, all the girls just kind of sound like their voices are high. I know they're in high school. I get it. The stories that they're in high school, but if you draw them like they are adults.
When is that established? Is that in a different episode besides?
No, he says like 15.
Well,
at
in the
one
first
point.
episode, yeah, he's 15 in the first episode because they're
episode,
still.
I'm talking about the ones that I've seen.
Oh yeah,
No, they
he's like
mention it.
16 or 17.
But do they mention that?
Yeah, no, there was definitely a point where they mentioned the age, and I was like, okay, I'm not.
Then
crazy.
yes, this is a bit strange.
Yeah, it is. But also though.
But
okay.
it's anime titties, and
So,
they're a meme.
Here's how I will excuse. Okay, I chose all these episodes really specifically. So episode 4 of season 1,
Mm-hmm.
I chose it because Fumio is back to her young self. Also, Fumio, she's like literally the most attractive anime character I've ever seen in my
Which
life.
one is
Which one is
she?
she?
She's the old lady, but we see her as a young lady
Oh,
with
yeah.
the gray hair.
Yeah, they were straight up like.
She's literally the most beautiful
They
anime
really
girl.
wanted to
They-
show
I've
her
ever seen.
vagina.
I mean,
but
yeah, they went
couldn't.
above and beyond with her.
Yeah. She was
Like,
gorgeous.
It's like there's so many layers to why the way this show photographs a young woman makes me uncomfortable. But
That's why you watch it at home.
The lingering
Shot.
is it going to be an upskirt style shots or the ones where I'm just like, oh god damn it, this
Yeah,
is
it's like if
this
you're on
is so weird.
If you're on a plane watching it and someone's like, why are you watching this? Be like,
No.
don't worry, they're kids. It's fine.
Or like it's research.
You're like an air marshal comes over
Yeah,
and puts you in a
excuse me,
straight
Oh my
jacket.
god. But okay, so I chose that because, it's a flashback of Fumio, who's an old lady now. So like, what are you gonna get mad at?
Yeah.
Just saying.
It also is a.
Just saying.
It's
I
just
protected
a.
us.
It's
with that
it's
episode.
it's really sad because it just like shows how we're all mortal when it comes down to it, and we'll soon all be old ladies and old men who are dreaming about our first foodgasm.
Exactly. One day
Yeah.
we'll look back and we'll be like, those were the days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I do love how this show does the actual cooking
Yes.
and like reaction sequences.
The details, like listing things on it.
Like, I'm just gonna be straight up with you. I'm probably never gonna like continue watching episodes of this show. However, if I find like a compilation of just the cooking scenes, like I could definitely sit and watch that for like hours.
I was even wondering, and I'm assuming this is true. I didn't look it up because I wanted to save it for a question for you, but I'm assuming that there are something to the effect of binging with Babish where people make the food from this show on YouTube or
Oh,
something.
I'm sure. Yes, yeah, a bunch of people do. And I would say I haven't seen. This might sound bad, but like I haven't seen any that have that like kind of like glistening effect because
never
the point of
gonna
it,
be able to
the point
shoot
of
it
it,
like that.
exactly. It's that it's an anime and it's drawn a certain way, much like anime girls are drawn. In
Yeah,
a way.
yeah.
So I've seen some, but I don't think any. I don't know any like committed things like
Well, if
that.
you've seen like a behind the scenes of like McDonald's photographing their food,
Yeah.
you realize it's all bullshit. So the real food's never gonna look.
They do
Yeah.
such a good job, like, because like the sense of taste, you can't convey that.
Don't you feel
through a-
hungry watching it though?
Yeah, and they do such a
Yeah.
good job making me like legitimately hungry and interested in eating this food that doesn't even exist.
Yeah,
it's
otherwise you
completely
don't
made
know.
up and drawn. But they do such a good job visually like conveying how fucking delicious this stuff is.
Yeah,
That's
I
because the
agree.
artists are really good at visually conveying how delicious anime titties look.
It's true, like pudding.
They
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
the food is almost sexualized.
It is. Like, have you seen them, like, jiggle?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Like, it just happens.
What-
I wrote something down to that effect. Oh God, yeah.
I
Okay,
remember-
the food sequences are oddly erotic. This is food porn disguised as anime.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Food porn disguised.
Like I
as
think,
anime.
yeah, like it feels like they just wanted to like draw really sexy food, and then they were like, no, you have to add a story to this. You can't just do food the
Just
whole
can't
thing.
be food,
They're
yeah.
like, fine, all right, but I'm still so horny from this food that I'm gonna make some big anime titties.
You have to make sense of it. It has to come full circle.
Yeah.
Is
I
it
get
true
it.
that one of the lead artists came out of hentai?
Probably.
Because someone was
yeah.
saying that on Twitter as well, and I was like, that makes sense.
Actually, I think that's true. I can't know for sure, but
Yeah.
I think I did read that, and
Yeah.
it sounds very
Someone
logical.
working on this was definitely cutting their teeth on
Yeah,
drawing
I mean-
hentai for sure.
I'm not into animated hentai. I actually like drawn manga hentai because it's done really well, and I don't like the voices in hentai. But like,
Like you can just close the book when you're on the plane.
yeah,
No,
exactly.
you don't have to
Tuck it
turn the TV
away.
off.
Thank you. Exactly. Oh my god, you guys know.
Way easier to hide.
Yeah, exactly. Paper. Nobody's gonna suspect paper.
Yeah.
But when I look at it, they're drawn so pretty, and there's a certain art to it, and there's a certain like sequence that you follow with the like drawn hentai manga or ero manga. So I feel like having somebody that really knows that on the team makes sense because they really do kind of like behave like hentai. So
Yeah.
There is a shocking amount of like effort put into like the gravity and jiggliness.
so much
of-
bounce, the physics.
Yeah.
and-
Just the not camera angles, like but what you would assume are the camera angles. It's obviously drawn, but the angles are just like they try to leave as little to the imagination as possible.
And they use the food to cover up the bits, so I
Yeah.
thought that was really horrible,
Yeah.
but awesome at the same time.
Yeah, I love the first one that I watched where it's the girl's taking the bath. And he pops in, he's like, whoa! And it's just like his dick is just barely covered by like the duck or whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're both awkward. Let's just get in the tub together.
Yeah.
I like that it's unabashed, because I'll watch anything, clearly. But I like that there is an element, like I said, the sports anime aspect to it, where there is a story to follow. I like
Yeah.
that there's fan service where you just get to enjoy like whatever it is at your own home. But yeah, like I know this probably isn't for everybody, but it's not just porn or it's not just food. You know,
It's
like
a gateway hentai.
it's a gateway
but there's
hentai.
a lot more to it.
Yes, it's a gateway hentai.
It's
You're
so much
absolutely
more
right.
than
You're
that.
right. If someone's like, I kind of want to see what like anime porn's like, show them this, and if they're into this,
It's like those soft porns that they used to play on like HBO at night. It's like there's no penetration, no dicks.
No dicks.
There's kind of a story, but it's bad. But it's not porn.
This story's not bad though. I found
Thank
each
you.
episode compelling.
Thank you so much. I know it's not something to maybe like watch continuously, especially because I just revealed that I'm not the biggest fan of season 3. But there is a story to follow, and their relationships are interesting. They're young, so they're kind of battling with what their priorities are in life, and their groupings are interesting too. Like, oh, this person is like a meat master, and this person is
That
like
one girl
a spice
kills
master.
animals in her room.
Yeah, when she's
The game. What do they call it? I wrote it down. I think.
She's like the game wielder. I actually don't know what it would be in English or
my
Japanese.
God.
I don't remember, but
I did write down some quotes that were great, like
Yes.
from the subtitles. Note, they are drunk strictly on juice.
Yeah, what was up with that?
I think it was just to show that. Oh, I like that. That was a very like we're kind of like young and having fun aspect, but
Yeah.
also trying to play into the when we're hyped up and we're together, like we're silly, and it's not just this like weird competition all the
I mean,
time.
like
Yeah.
I distinctly remember before alcohol ever touched my lips, being able to feel like that level of.
Kind of just happy, like overly.
And I'm no longer capable of that.
Me neither. How do we get back to that?
I don't
Like, what do we
know.
need to do?
Yeah, there's two things on that. One, it's clearly them in an awkward situation where they have to like live together in this dorm.
Yeah.
And they're breaking the ice.
And they're kind of just celebrating, like finding
Yeah.
what's common, and also like their connector is food, right?
Yeah.
So like being able to, I guess, like feed each other and like and knowing that they're all there for the same purpose and they're kind of competing with each other, but they're in
Yeah.
the same dorm. Like I feel like that dynamic is hard to portray, but you can kind of see it in them like breaking the ice over in that moment.
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was really like pure.
So we gotta address the elephant in the room, aka the apron you're wearing.
Oh,
AKA
yes!
the character who wears that apron in the show, who is inexplicably not just naked all the time, but does this weird thing with his butt where I can't tell if it's supposed to be like sweat.
Is
coming
that
off
air
of it,
bubbles? Or is that farting? Is he
But
farting?
no one is really
Oh.
none of the characters
Have some
are-
of my special spice.
Yeah, the character's just like, that's him.
no.
He's walking around completely naked.
Ishiki senpai.
But he gets to do whatever he wants because he's part of, and this was never fully explained to me because
The,
we only
Because
of the
jumped around,
jumps, yes.
the Elite 10.
Yeah.
Yes. So the Elite 10, this school, Totsuki Academy, is essentially run by people that have ranked in their cooking abilities.
Yeah.
And and of course there are other like Saizemon, which is the beefy grandfather guy that owns the place. There are obviously
Whose
other
shirt
players.
explodes when he becomes aroused
Yeah,
by food.
same, right? No, just
He must
us.
have a lot of shirts just around because anytime he takes a bite he likes, the shirt just
He's like
gone.
Hulk Hogan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, and it explodes outwards, and his eyes go white. I love that. There are obviously other people that control the school, but it is mainly controlled by the ranks in how well they cook or what good chefs they are.
Is this like I don't know how anything about the Japanese educational system, but like like we have like valedictorian here. Is there like much more of that sort of thing in Japanese education?
Not so much in this show. This is really peculiar. This is
Okay.
a very this is made for this purpose kind of
Okay.
show in school. But in other like slice of life anime where there is a class president and there is like a dynamic there, like those are quite real, to be honest.
Okay.
And they really are truly like the daily lives of a Japanese kid going to their real schools with their real friends. And
So there's very much like a hierarchy.
in this anime, yes. In Japanese schools, it kind of depends on the school. If you go to a private school, I'm sure there is. There
Okay.
is probably like a deep hierarchy. But if you go
Yeah.
to a public school, I actually think it's pretty like regular, normal life. It just kind of depends on the individual, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, like they would have a story if they were like bullied or if they were the most popular. But beyond that, it's not really hierarchical.
Everyone's the anime kids in
There you
Japanese
go.
school.
Yeah, as long as you sit in the back and next to the window, you're the main character.
Are there people in Japanese like middle and high school that don't like anime? Is it like a weird outcast thing as much as it is here? It's not an outcast thing here anymore.
Yeah.
But it was when I was in high school. Like you definitely knew
Totally.
who the
Yeah.
anime kids were.
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah.
But like in Japan, I feel like they just don't care. It's not really a matter of like, oh, you're a dork because of it, or like, oh, you still watch cartoons. Like it's not really like that because there are so many levels, and they are not. Like many of them are purposefully not made for children whatsoever. The medium just happens to be animation, which
Yeah.
Japan to Japanese people, it's very palpable. It's not really necessarily divisive to be made for children. So knowing that there is no real like, oh, you watch anime. The types of anime I'd say is probably where you're gonna get bullied. Like if I'm 30 this year and I'm watching Love Live and I'm dressing up like my favorite idol girls that who
No
are
idea what you're talking about.
there are these idol girl anime is a type of anime where there are like really young high school girls that perform as like idol singer girls, and they
So
all
like
wear
K-pop
like
girls?
yes, and they all wear
Okay.
similar outfits, and they're like cute, and they're very pure. The whole point of them is that like they're untouchable because they're pure. So if I was like an adult, really super into that all day, every day, like yes, please judge me a little bit, like at least
Okay.
like understand that that's probably not normal. But
Is
I
that
would
where they dress
say-
up with like the lace stuff and like
Yes,
the umbrellas?
and
We used to know
Oh,
someone
no.
that used to dress like
that's,
that.
That's
Lolly.
Lolita, yeah.
Yeah.
That's oh my god, okay. Lolly's different. Lolly's like really bad. Lolly's a
Someone
bad
we
word.
used to work.
But
Someone we used to work
Lolita-
with, like, would dress up like that on the
Yeah.
weekends.
Yeah.
Don't say her name.
Yeah,
I know who you're
but,
talking
but
about.
yeah, Lolita style is like that. Is actually a fashion subculture in Japan, and it
Yeah.
has like nothing to do with anime. So that's like a whole nother thing. Japan's weird, guys.
I love it.
it's
I
just
love
what
it.
it
I've
is,
been
yeah.
twice, and it is probably my favorite like developed country that I've been to.
That makes me really
Like,
happy.
it's weird, but also like I do think it's cool that so many just like completely different subcultures can kind of coexist in one place
Yeah.
and like have their own, group of people. Like I really love I love the whole Japanese like rockabilly biker subculture with like the giant pompadours and like leather jackets and shit.
Yeah.
And it's all based off this like almost fictionalized version of like 1950s America.
Yeah, they call them Yankee, like Yankees.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a not Yakuza, but it's, I guess, kind of a subdivision of that like mobster mentality. And it's actually really, there's a whole genre of anime and manga that's dedicated to that, actually.
Yeah.
And it's, Furyo means to be delinquent. So the genre is called delinquent anime and manga. And it's actually really good. And you're totally right. There's a fascination with it, but it's definitely about like this kind of brotherhood misfits, therefore brotherhood kind of situation going on, or brotherhood, therefore misfits kind of thing. And I feel like that's, I don't know, that like, I find it really interesting. It's definitely
I literally
still...
went to this place in Harajuku, and they're like a custom, like, old school like cafe racer motorcycle place, and it was
very cool,
definitely popping there. And they got a jacket that has like the Harajuku Japan with their logo on it, and they have like the style of the motorcycles that people own there, because like everyone goes there and like shows off their bike. And like the one day that we went there, like the parking lot was just like stuff that would be, you know, in like shows here in California and stuff. So yeah, that culture is really cool there. Yeah,
Japan, I feel like another reason why, I mean, bullying and all these things happen, of course, and on a different scale in Japan too, but I feel like the idea of fanaticism is actually closer to maniacal, which is really negative in Japan. But if you don't hit that maniacal level, you're actually very allowed to be openly into this thing that you're into. Like, it's okay that you celebrated, it's your car it's okay that your car is filled with like all these decals of these things, but there is definitely like a normality that you kind of have to portray, just because, you know, you want to get hired by this company and maybe they don't like share your same ideas, like whatever the reason. You still have, it's a developed country, you still have to normalize.
It seems like it seems like there might be, like, because if you look at, like, the Tokyo subway, it's a bunch of very buttoned up people all sort of, like, dressed the same. So is there this sort of, like, duality where, like, during the workday, you're, like, one person, and then during your free time, you're your true self?
There so is, and I love that you brought this up because I don't get to talk about it much, but there absolutely is. Okay. A lot of people are just salarymen, which are businessmen that just work and go home and do whatever, but a lot of the times because they're very repressed, in order to relieve their stress, they'll oftentimes go to arcades and be literally the best DDR master you've ever seen in your life. Like, it happens all the time. I was in Shinjuku earlier this year, and I was playing this new dance game that I have no idea how to play, and it was really fun, and this guy fully suited up like you described, just in, like a salaryman, just got out of work, puts in his like card, and he's already at like triple, quadruple, like triple S master level, and he just breaks out in this dance and is marvelous. And so many people are around him like taking pictures and taking videos. He's done after 3 rounds, wipes his sweat, goes home. It was beautiful.
He was jonesing for that all day.
Yeah,
all day.
It's what gets me through the day.
Truly.
You know, we're getting that drum game soon here in America. That's coming for the Switch, and you like put the Switch Joy-Cons in the sticks. So I'm very excited for that. And it comes with like a bunch of. It actually comes. I was reading this last night, oddly enough. The U.S. release is coming with the title intro music for a bunch of animes.
It should. It really should. Thank God.
But that game is my favorite game to play.
It's fun.
In Japan,
and it's easy to like understand. I feel like the bar of entry is really nice and low for that, because once
just like
you learn it,
like the first one that you do is like, okay, do it.
Yeah, you figure it out. Yeah, and then it's like, oh, rhythmically, like, oh, you got to use the sides. That one tripped me up though. I was like, oh, these make different noises.
So the Elite 10 is the
yes, back to the anime. Yes. Okay, so the Elite 10. I forgot that was the main question. They, so to speak, run the academy. That was a hell of a tangent. Yeah. And what they do is they normalize by teaching classes. So if you're of a certain status, you're teaching certain classes, and then as your students get older and more savvier in their cooking abilities, you will be facing, or rather you'd be learning from the higher elites. And we don't know who the #1 seat is. Well, you guys certainly don't know, but it remains a mystery on purpose. And some students are in the Elite 10 because they're that phenomenal, but mostly they are adults that have already graduated from the school.
And he is, this guy in particular, very confident. Because
apron guy?
Yeah, he
apron
is just
boy.
naked under that apron.
I love him.
And also just crawling around in the attic, like peeking into
very
people's
creepy.
rooms.
Stalking people, stalking students.
Hey, time to party!
Yeah, are you coming?
Also, I wrote down his fucking name somewhere in here, but Marui.
Oh, poor dude.
They're always just like taking over his room.
Well, I don't know, he's like,
your room's the biggest!
Yeah.
I get that, like, but he's also like surrounded by just very attractive people all around. It's like, come on, just like at least like go with the flow.
Go with the flow.
Cut loose.
He's so distracted.
He gets really upset when it happens, but then he kind of I think he realizes that it's hopeless.
Yeah.
So he kind of cuts loose too.
There's a girl in that party. I couldn't. She has this like purple cloud around her, and I was like, "Is she a ghost? Like, what's going on with this?"
Well, that purple cloud pops up all the time.
Yeah,
like,
there's
this
this
energy
purple
that
like
kinda...
mist that shows up. Because like at first I thought the caretaker, the old
She
lady,
had it too, right at the
I was
beginning.
like, "Oh, she's a ghost," but no.
I thought she's
So I'm like, "What? This is trying to like convey something that
Yeah.
I'm completely illiterate to."
Interesting. Oh my gosh, I just take it in so naturally that I don't even know what that could be. But it's probably just like you said, trying to convey an emotion
a dark
or something.
energy or something.
Yeah.
But it's probably, I mean, there's no like magic in this anime, so to speak. Like it's very much grounded in the physics of reality. So there's not suddenly going to be like a magical person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
but
can't, like
It's like an aura.
with every
yeah, it's an aura, probably
with-
a sensation, like
Yeah,
fear.
With every anime, one of the biggest struggles is trying to like figure out like where on the spectrum of like reality and fantasy something is actually taking place.
Yeah.
And with this one, it took a while to be like, okay, this takes place pretty much in
Real
like
life
hyper-reality.
somewhere.
Outside of like flashbacks
like-
are still reality, but the flashbacks did kind of like, okay, where are we going
But
now?
I wasn't even clear if like things were like magic until
I know,
like, pretty far
yeah.
in.
That is really rough about that, I will say, because I'm actually not the biggest fan of fantasy or magical anime. I really like slice of life. I like comedy. I like daily things that happen. So I tend to not watch things like that. And this, I knew by watching it that it wasn't going to be magical, but even the way that they cook and the fact that there's a girl called like God Tongue, like she can taste the flavors of anything, like it's all,
Yeah.
it's like really like almost edging in that direction. So I feel
was edging the whole time during this stuff.
I knew somebody would take the bait. Yes.
You can't just lob softballs
know.
out there.
But yeah, great anime, huh?
That girl with the cloud, like the weird, like antisocial-ish girl.
I think she's just nervous.
But there's a whole weird.
I don't know who any of these characters are except for the main one. I
moment.
can't even like think of who you're talking
Well,
about.
she's sitting on the couch, like, but she
the blue-haired
She has like a
one?
flashback to like her mom being like, "If you let a man touch you, you'll never."
Yeah.
I was like,
Okay,
what
okay.
the fuck is
Wait,
going
oh,
on
I
here?
know
That
what
was the
you're
girl
talking
that was in the bathtub, right?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
now I can explain it. Okay, so that's to make the situation more lighthearted. Obviously, she's just stressed out that he saw her naked, as like
Okay.
any person would be. So that's why like she's just kind of like down in the dumps, and she's not traumatized.
She's like. Because this is like Christian mom shit, where it's like, you slut, now no one's ever gonna love you.
Well, okay, so her mom in
been ruined.
in the flashback, she goes like, "Don't show your skin to men so easily, or else they won't think you're worth a lot." That's like a very like common olden thing to say to girls, I think.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I think that crosses pretty much every culture.
Well,
as
I
long
mean-
as you go back far enough.
exactly. Well, I mean, she is from the country, and she actually has an accent and a dialect.
Oh.
So yeah, you guys don't get to see it in
No.
the subtitles, but she is from. I believe it's Akita, which is very, very rural.
Yeah.
So for her family to have a little bit more of a
Konnichiwa.
conservative, of more of this like
Haji
conservative.
Mamaste! How you guys doing? Is that what she sounds like to you in your ears?
No. She it's
Mushi
not.
mushi.
Arigato gozaimasu.
No, it's more of like a dialect, like the way like there's a southern accent.
That's what
in
I'm doing.
English.
Did that not come across, Reina? Haji Mamaste.
That's just foreign.
Okay.
But yeah, no, there's like a lot of like dialects that have to do with where you're from. And as a Japanese person, if you're like from the South and you hear a Southern accent, you know what their values are. Or like if they're from the North, like you can hear it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of conveyed without having to do too much in the anime, because the anime is made for Japanese people, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't have to like think too deep.
I
for
will
us.
point
Yeah.
out that
Yeah.
since we're a little bit further into our anime experience, this show sealed it for me. And I said this about the other shows too. I do enjoy watching subs over dubs. This show sealed it for me because I took a moment to like think about what, and I don't know if this show is dubbed. Do they have a dubbed version?
I don't know.
Okay, so I took a moment to think about what the dubbed version would sound like, and it, in my head, sounded like the lamest.
It would be ridiculous.
Like if they were saying these things that are on the subtitles, but with American English-speaking actors, and I know they're very, very talented because I have seen dubs and they are very good, but like all I could think would be how lame this would sound in English, like saying these things.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you, because not only is there kind of like a porny, moany concept behind it, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of humor purposefully in this anime that goes into how things got delivered. Like, for
Yeah.
example, Megumi having that accent, like, you don't, as a Japanese person, you don't think twice. You know where she's from. That's
Yeah.
why she has an accent. That's why her parents are conservative. That's why she hates that he
it's
saw
like
her
someone
naked.
here from Minnesota
Yeah.
or from Georgia. You know, you would
Perhaps,
know.
yeah. You just know. And, like, you're not really like, oh, like, like, oh, she's like, is she religious or is she this? It's like, oh no, you just know her family's from like an old rural place, and that's just why it is. But like, I feel like in the subs versus dubs is so interesting to me because in this anime, you're right in that I think the extravagance of it being so out of control and bizarre and animated makes it even so much more cartoony that I feel like it loses a lot, maybe perhaps being dubbed. But I found that in a lot of dubs, a lot gets portrayed that you can't possibly be writing down and reading in a sub because, like I just said, like, you know, I just told you she has an accent, but without that, you just think like, oh, she's traumatized that he saw her nude, right? Like, you don't get to see the impact, or you only see
the emotion
impact.
is conveyed very well in this.
Right. Yeah. But with like a dub though, if they could probably portray the voice in a way where she like has an accent and therefore she's like, oh, I'm gonna like now I'm gonna. I made my mom sad now kind of thing. Like, it almost has that lighthearted feel that the anime originally wanted to portray, but you can't get that in the subs if you don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like...
I don't think it mattered, though.
There's things that we're never going to pick up on as like, Japanese people.
Yeah, that's why, like,
sure.
dubs, like, should be the answer to...
They should be. It's just like...
Because there should be something that you can portray in the voice that you can't see just by reading the subtitles.
And I mean, like... If you go see like Miyazaki movies do a really good job casting like English speaking like really good actors for them. Like that, I feel like it shouldn't be like that. Obviously that stuff's way different than something like Food Wars, but like
but you're totally right though. And the tricks that actually Miyazaki uses in the better dubbed versions, like for example Spirited Away, they do a lot of ADR script effects where she first is looking at, for example, Chihiro, she's looking at a bathhouse, and no Westerner should know that it's a bathhouse, and there's no audio technically in it in the original Japanese, but the ADR scriptwriter specifically said, sigh and say, oh, it's a bathhouse, so that you as the viewer can know that it's a bathhouse without having to give a shit about Japan. Like that kind of stuff you really can't do in subtitles, so I feel like I obviously can only watch things subbed and not dubbed, but there's such a beauty in bringing that anime into the US to like letting everybody understand what it really is. Like the depth I think should belong in dubs.
And I get why people like, some people, from my experience, people seem to be subs over dubs, but I do understand the dubs aspect because the thing that I have seen the argument for is that it allows you to concentrate on the art and action happening on screen instead of trying to ingest and
especially
make sense
a show
of
like this. Like there's so many quick cuts, like where I'm like I can only pay attention to so much at once.
And it's honestly the art is beautiful. Whereas like something with Dragon Ball Z is a gorgeous anime, but you don't need to rely on dialogue as much anyway.
Right. There's a lot of screaming, so you can actually take in.
Screaming is a universal language.
Totally, and you can pace it yourself. Like it's up to you. I agree. This one, there's so much dialogue, especially when explaining the food. So that will probably get a lot lost in translation, especially because they use a lot of foreign words in Japanese to describe what's happening in the food. So
and the food is very
next
specifically Japanese style until we get to the episode in season 3 where they're mimicking some kind of they're doing their take on Chinese food.
Yes, but and then they do like French.
It's an Asian cuisine that not a lot of people here, but I'm sure people in America like aren't always putting like having the umami taste or putting squid into an ingredient.
Right,
most
how
people,
could you know?
It's like
miso broth,
sushi and benihana
and ramen,
and
maybe,
ramen,
right?
Possibly. But
my biggest complaint about Food Wars is they don't toss the shrimp into their hat or like do anything cool like catch it in their pocket.
Like in
I was expecting an onion volcano the entire time during this show, and I just didn't get it.
Oh, I kind of want to see that now. I feel like they should have like an amusement park, like
that would be like the reject version.
Like, can't you make that?
This would be like the person who's doing like benihana in Food Wars is like the kid who got an F. And they're like, you have to go work at benihana.
You can't get into Totsuki Academy with that. But I would like to see something like kind of crazy.
The one thing I'd like to point out that I did not like, because there's a lot that I liked, but the one thing I did not like is, and I see this a little bit in other animes that I've seen, but it was so egregious in this, is the front-facing lips, side mouth.
Oh.
It is the mouth is like here, but their lips are straight forward, and that happened so much in this.
I
didn't even notice.
Yeah, they're talking this way, but it wouldn't bother me.
Profile,
it wouldn't bother me if the profile didn't show their lips facing this way with the mouth facing this way. But
why not just have it open, right? Like it's
or just do it on the side, but don't have lips. Like have them like so. It's definitely a choice that I didn't like. It was just very jarring to see like this.
I totally get you.
And the lips don't move; they just sit there while the mouth moves.
I feel. Did you notice it more in the later episodes? Maybe.
No, I think I actually noticed it more in the earlier ones.
Early episodes? Okay. That is definitely just like an animation trick, but it's also definitely a style in anime that's
I know, I've
used.
seen it before.
Yeah.
It was just this one was just like
I know,
I'm really
egregious,
noticing
yeah.
it here.
I didn't personally notice it, but I do find that really distracting because once you see it, you can't not see it, right? Like
I think
once
that was
you,
my problem.
Yeah, like you can't ignore it. It happens a lot in my favorite show, Detective Conan or Case Closed, because their animation, it's not what it's about anymore. It's just the story. So they're like mouths, their noses are like out here and their mouths are like just a rectangle and they're off to the side, exactly how you described. And it really is distracting, but like I don't, other than to cut time and for it being just particularly anime, because in anime every scene is hand drawn, not nowadays maybe, but like due to that limitation, I feel like that's why that almost trope started. But nowadays I don't know why they still need to use it.
I think it's to show the viewer that they're included in the conversation, because it is like two people facing each other,
I guess
which
so.
isn't maybe as compelling to a viewer. Whereas like if their mouths are looking at you, I don't know. It was just something that
yeah, I'll try to like hone in on it next time because I probably won't be able to ignore it once I see it. But yeah,
I've just ruined it for both of you.
I totally get it.
And
yeah.
everyone watching who's like, can't wait to watch food. Fuck
these fucking side mouths.
Speaking of hentai, though, so
What a transition. Yes, speaking of hentai.
The end credits on that first episode you gave me, I just wrote, what the fuck is this outro credits? Holy shit. Because it's everyone's naked and like
yeah, they're hugging fruits.
giant
the banana
food.
Yeah.
And it's like so fucking sexual.
But the music is so like I don't know, whimsical and
The music is very odd in this show overall. There's a straight up
Definitely.
nu metal song, like a
in
Limp
the second
Bizkit
one,
song.
yes.
You know, in the last
Yeah.
one where they're doing the where he finally gets help with his little stand.
Yeah.
There's just a straight up Japanese nu metal like Limp Bizkit style song that plays in its entirety throughout the scene, even when they're
thing.
talking. It's
I
just
love
like
it. Yeah, they probably just, I don't know, they want to be cool, I guess. The first season, I love their intro. It's very, it's like a journey. They're actually narrating kind of what's going to happen, and there's a very like, let's all get together and do this kind of sensation behind it. And the outro is weird. I do agree with you. I like the music because I got used to it, I think, and I was just like, yay, Food Wars.
Yeah.
But the later seasons, I really didn't like their intros or outros. So like, I'm there with you on that.
well,
They,
then,
the intros for like, once you get into like season 2 and 3, the intro, like, I was just, because they show like all the main characters, and I'm
It's
just like,
such a
there's like
spoiler.
50 fucking characters in this show.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
and it spoils shit. Like, you kind of don't know what's going on, but like, if you're watching, you're like, who the fuck is that? Why is he touching him? What's happening there?
There's
oh my
one
god.
point where they show two like wolf men
Hot.
facing each other or something.
don't know, yeah.
I'm like, wait, so they, what's going on here?
I think
Do
that's
people
just their
transform into
aura.
animals?
Sadly, no. But I think it's just their aura. Kind of like the Pride of Young Lions. Like, they have like this like animalistic aura to them.
Yeah.
I'm trying my best.
yeah.
Got me smelling that food like a wolf smells blood.
Yeah, and now they have to like fight each other.
But fans of the Marvel after credits scenes will love Food Wars
Every
because there is a
episode.
full episode at the end of every episode, basically.
There really
There's
is.
like a 5-minute short where it's just like,
yeah, and they have nothing to do with anything sometimes.
yeah, that was I think the third episode. I was like, I don't even know what they're trying to
just
say.
hanging
like,
out,
it just
yeah.
seemed like a bunch of like shit they like wanted to include in the main part of the episode, but they're like, we can't fit this in anywhere. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's like side plots that aren't really all that interesting and don't, they're not a cliffhanger for
It's
the
like
next
bonus
episode.
content.
Yeah.
Exact bonus, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
For the Patreon supporters.
cut for time. So
Oh, really quick in that second episode that we watched, which was season 2, episode 10, that was where in the beginning I was like, this is like anime MasterChef, Iron Chef.
Yeah.
And that second episode that we watched, which is, again, I have to say, it's episode 10 of season 2, but
new genius.
that is straight up like an Iron Chef, MasterChef competition
Yes.
done in anime.
Yeah,
Which is great.
It's very. I felt like it was really fun to be able to watch something like Iron Chef in anime form because they get to be crazy.
it's
and
so
extravagant.
larger than life.
Yes,
Fatty
it really
tuna!
is.
Like-
Yeah, and the way that they got judged was really fun as well, and it was fair. And in the second episode in particular, they have that like white-haired lady, which I know was probably random for you guys, but she is
It's
the
all
mothers. Yeah, she's the mothers of like one of the girls that's like pretty important to the story. So
Okay.
seeing her kind of take in rambling in Japanese, even though she has a weird like Japanese English accent, was kind of fun for me in that like judging aspect. Yeah, I really liked it. I think they showcase everything well in the second season because, like I said, they focus on that tournament style. So the whole second season is basically just Iron Chef the anime.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
great.
With those sexy elements to it.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
sprinkled in.
And then it is funny. I do love how you can tell just how like full of themselves and egotistical all of the students are, because none of them ever trust anyone's opinion of other people's food. They're like, let me try that every single time. And then they're all they're very happy to just cook something up. I'm like, yes, I have ingredients still. Sure, you want to taste my cooking?
There's such I think, a love and respect. I think that's why in sports anime in general, there is a very huge emphasis on respecting your rival. And although you are rivals, you kind of like share a love with this common thing that you do for and with each other. And therefore, like I said before, Japan's really specific about food. Like feeding somebody is a big deal, just like the ancestral thing I was talking about. So having a rival eat your food is kind of an honor. And they treat it very interestingly because they're young and rowdy and full of themselves. So it's a really bizarre take on it, but them still kind of having this equalizer that's food and they're all being competitive is kind of what they portray, and being like, no, like I'm competitive, but like I want to know how good your food is. Oh, I expected more from you. Or like, oh, nothing less from the Spice King. Like
it's like how they cleaned up the entire stadium and locker room at the World Cup and left thank you notes even though they lost.
Oh yeah, that's so Japan.
So definitely like the thing that confused me the most in that episode was this that character something Akira. I don't remember.
Oh, Hayama Akira. Yes, the Spice guy.
The Spice guy.
He had a little bit of backstory in
his
that episode.
backstory I was extremely confused by. So he was adopted by some woman. Like is that a grown woman?
She's a grown woman. Okay. She looks really young.
She looks and sounds extremely young. And like when she first like takes him in, he is like clearly a child, so it's like somewhat believable and makes sense. But like later on, he now appears to be much older than her.
Yeah.
But she's supposed to be like his older mentor, but there's like also weird like
there's a love
sexual feelings there.
There is.
And,
real
when he hugs her when she wins, she's like legitimately like shocked by it.
Yeah. Well, he also
real Woody Allen situation.
Oh God! Well, he hasn't really shown much emotion. So, her being somebody like his caretaker and having him show emotion for the first time, I think was probably like another way to look at it. But I know it's weird, but anime is fucking weird. So welcome. But that dynamic is obviously like really bizarre, but I like to see it as I'm explaining it away, so that it could be more palpable for all of us.
Okay.
So she is older than him, but I'm assuming she's probably like about a student's age when she takes him in. I don't want to say adopts because that's kind of weird, but like she takes him in. And also it's not technically her that raises him. It's actually her master, because she's an apprentice to the person that's actually in the seat.
Okay.
Yeah. So
she's more like an older sister?
Sure. Even hotter. Incest is incest in anime.
Very big subsection of porn these days. The
big.
Fake incest.
And
Yeah. But I want it to be a more pure thing, but I do see that it's obviously trying to be kind of gross. But
well, especially when you're jumping right into it, like skipping around on episodes. Us skipping episodes.
No, they did though. That episode, they just show it to you all of a sudden.
All right.
And there's a little bit of more exposition that goes on, but like not really. Like you just get to learn like why he is the way he is. But there's
also
really
just kind of like sexual tension
everywhere.
Everywhere. Like I there's even parts where I'm like I feel like a little bit of a like gay vibe, like in some of the stuff between like the boy characters. So it's like just every single interaction in the show is like flirtatious in some weird way.
It's like
aren't all interactions when you're that young?
Sexually
When you're that young and you're like in, let's say, college or this culinary school, that's kind of like what real life is.
There's
when
so
you're
many
at that
sparks,
age.
right?
Yeah, like especially in like high school where your hormones are like through the fucking roof.
Yeah.
And every conversation with a girl, and I don't know, but maybe you can also say that this is like the same thing way with girls talking to guys, but like every conversation is just like, oh fuck.
Yeah, I think it's
not in a horny way, but I did that wrong. I think you guys heard my fuck wrong.
You should dub food porn.
Oh, fuck. No, I meant it in a way that it's uncomfortable for people to talk to each other.
For girls, I always felt like
not like every boy is like, oh, girl. Oh.
I also felt like everything was really monumental. Like I was like, oh, we said the same word at the same fucking time. Like we must belong together. Like I get it. So
at that age, you don't have many special moments like that. So everything is like special.
I was like, oh, you finished my sentence. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Same. Also, the coming.
That whole part.
Yeah.
I will say the final episode that we watched, despite it not being as sexually gratifying both in terms of anime titties and food.
Yeah.
I did think that the last dish, the one that had the moon
I
gelatin
make
in it,
that.
Yeah.
that was the most delicious looking thing I've seen in the show.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Like, I need to like look up. Someone must have actually tried to make that, but like,
it's so intricate.
that sounds so goddamn good. Like a fucking meatball with a gelatinized like curry like center inside of it that like melts into
out and changes the whole flavor.
When he cracks it open and the whole crowd, like the golden, like just
fairies.
You can just see the smell. Like it's like almost when you would see like Bugs Bunny like floating. It's like
Towards a good smell,
like,
yeah.
But like when that happened, it was just like it literally felt like a food orgasm. Like was just like.
Yeah, I think they portrayed it so well. Like you felt it, like kind of exploding, right? You're like, oh, I feel like I can smell that almost.
Yeah.
I think
really
they did
portrayed that well.
And also the one at the end, the like outro, like whoops, forgot to fit this in there. Sort of the other dish.
The
other dish, which was like a soup, but it had like this 3D printed like spicy chocolate thing that melted in it. I'm like, that sounds really fucking good too.
Oh, that was the chemist person that cooks with like chemistry and stuff.
Yeah, 3D printing chocolate that like slowly melts and adds to the flavor. So I just have one question. The people that come and help him out, those are people that he worked at
fellow
with
students.
They're fellow students.
Yeah, but I thought I saw that like that was the flashback into a restaurant that they worked with together.
Oh, that guy. Yes. There's one adult person that.
That's the big guy, right?
Sorry. There's
the
two
Glenn
adult
Danzig
people.
looking fella.
Yeah. Sorry. That is.
Glenn Danzig is like 5 feet tall. That is not Glenn Danzig.
He does a great job hiding that fact.
He wears those like rockabilly shoes that are like that big. Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
He's very short.
Yeah. But for this guy, okay, so there's two adults that are helping him. One person is a copier, a mimicker, and he is an adult, and he was introduced in a previous episode where he was actually made to sabotage one of Soma's works. Mm-hmm. So it's a really interesting like turn of heart story for him.
Yeah.
And then the other person that was helping him, which is like legitimately just like an old man adult, is somebody from his hometown that used to frequent him and his dad's restaurant. So he just wanted to help him, especially because he owes him a favor from something that happens in the first season, and that's all it is. He just is very excited to help this young boy that he's known his whole life that's always been really talented at cooking. So that's it. The other people are his friends and fellow classmates and people that he's helped before.
So they don't have to help him, but they're jumping in because they're like, if anyone's gonna fucking win this thing, it's gonna be our boy.
Yeah.
Not those dicks over at the Szechuan restaurant.
Yeah, not the ones that already know what they're doing.
Not those rich kids with a bunch of 50 Chinese workers in the back, all working in sync.
There's definitely a in anime, shonen anime. This is seinen, but like for boy anime, there's a lot of rooting for the underdog concept, and I'm sure you saw that in probably like One Punch Man, even though it was probably made fun of.
Yeah.
Knowing that, Soma is certainly an underdog, and also what got established in the second episode that I had you guys see is at first everybody hated him because he was so cocky, but then at that point in time is when literally the whole school started turning and started wanting to root for him because he was so absurdly good. And the concept of being good in a competitive area like that is where the sports anime comes in a little bit. But it's hard to still have pride and be criticized all the time, which is what a lot of the students lose out in, so they don't like to compete. But Soma is a little bit, he's unaffected by those things.
And he's respectful of his peers.
Yeah, so he, of course, has pride in his work, but he also knows that the other person might potentially be better, and it's not a fear that he has, it's actually kind of what makes him want to do more. So knowing that, I think in that second episode, everybody got to see it, and now he is suddenly now their underdog hero. So in season 3, they really want him to win. Yeah. They know that he's cocky, but they want him to be the winner.
Yeah. How many seasons total are there?
Well, right now they just wrapped season 3. I think it's going to continue, but the manga is going on at its own pace.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell it's
The
on now.
opposite of Game of Thrones.
Opposite of Game of Thrones, absolutely.
But just as much sexual innuendo.
tension, yeah, and like incest, maybe. I don't know.
Could be.
Could be.
When can we expect a movie of Food Wars?
A shitty
my
American
God.
adaptation.
No. I want to straight
that's
up
just
like.
porn. Just bad porn.
Yeah.
Where like you eat like sushi off the naked girl. Is that
Yeah,
not,
they used to have a place like that in like West Hollywood.
Yeah.
Could you imagine though, like like Wood Rocket? They just did like the Fortnite porn. They just do this.
No, well
That
then
would be great.
the bar isn't very like high or different though for this. Like,
This demands a very high production value point.
I
Yeah,
would
that's
like
what I'm
to
saying. Like
see
I would
it.
like
Wood
I would
Rock
love
is
a
too
movie
cheap.
yeah.
version of this, but done like season 1's art style
Yeah.
with less fart bubbles though.
Less far. Yeah, I didn't even notice what those fireball. I think they're just action animation like motions.
Your
right?
mind
Like,
seems to drift while you're watching Food Wars for some reason.
I know. I wasn't realizing all
There's
the
so much
details.
stuff I'm not picking up on this.
It's so distracting all the time.
Yeah. I will say it like made me more than anything want to go back to Japan and eat food.
Yeah.
Because every meal that I had there was the most delicious meal.
I'm so
Every
glad.
time.
I'm so
Yeah.
glad you said that. Did you
I got
find
real
any
hungry.
difficulties like in Japan? Because like you know how everything's very like fish based. Like even if
I mean, I love fish, so it's fine.
yeah, I guess that's not so hard. Because like what I find difficult is everything much like we talked about in the show. The umami is based on bonito flakes and miso. So like fish and like root vegetables and things like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like as delicious as Japanese food is to me, the more traditional you go, it kind of the flavor gets like gentler and more along the Buddhist concept. And I feel it's like so interesting to hear people love Japanese food because I'm like, I actually think there's like a high bar to like enjoy that seafood being permeated in every dish.
I
that
mean,
you eat.
I've traveled a bunch and live
Yeah.
in Los Angeles, so it's not
Of course,
too hard
yeah.
of a stretch. But yeah, I mean, it was, you find a ramen place that you like if you're there long enough, and we did like the typical, the touristy one. I can't remember what that one's called, where they serve you in a little booth. It's like the famous one that people wait in.
Ippudo? Oh, in the booth?
And you can buy little ones to go. Anyways, like that stuff was great, but like there's so much
Yeah.
more than like ramen and sushi,
Of course,
and everything
of
was
course.
everything was delicious there. It just made me want to go back. Watching this was just like, oh fuck.
Yeah. Oh, the cool thing about Japan is there's barely any such thing as food poisoning. Japan takes that very seriously. So
Unless
if
you eat
anything,
that puffer fish.
No, I had the puffer fish and I didn't
You
die.
did?
Yeah, I had it.
I,
Wow.
Well, like if it's served in
Prepared
front of
so-
you,
yes,
like
you're
why
fine.
wouldn't you take the risk?
I've had it rationalized to me in many ways.
Just
Still
don't do
not
it.
worth it to me.
Just in case.
The risk is not
just in
worth
case.
it.
Yeah, if
It
it's
was
prepared,
very weird.
fine.
Like like hypochondriacs, like
Yes.
they constantly think something's wrong.
Yeah.
When I did eat it, I did have that moment of like, fuck,
Uh-oh.
what if I am like the one of 1,000
million-
people
yeah.
or whatever?
Oh,
like,
no.
but then I just got drunk and forgot about it.
Yeah.
Great, perfect.
Because
That's what
we
you're
were
supposed to do.
The place we got it at was just like sushi was expensive, but sake was dirt cheap. So we were just like pounding sake.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so thank you for introducing us to this show.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
If you guys would like to see any other weird anime or need an introduction or explanation for anime.
yes.
I mean, you mentioned sports anime, and I'm really interested in like the baseball animes, like because I've seen just like clips and gifs of that. And it's just so hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Sports anime is
How
very
they're-
serious.
Because they I love taking the sort of like visual concepts of like doing battle
Yes.
from like anime and then applying that to something like pitching a baseball.
Yeah.
Like it's just
So maybe next time we
funny
do
to
an
me.
ultra serious sports one.
I'd love that because I thought this was perfect because obviously it's a wackadoodle anime and I knew
Yeah.
you guys would have a lot of questions, but like I also
Especially coming off of fucking Attack on Titan.
right,
This was
just
very
so much
like
depth, like
Yeah,
exactly.
I really like my eyes have been open to how much variety there is
Yes.
within
Yeah.
anime. Like it's not even really a genre; it's just a medium.
Yes, and anime has its own subgenres, like
Yeah.
sports or romantic comedies. Like they have their own
Yeah.
categories that they all fit into, and I feel like it's almost actually a little important in anime to distinguish which ones you're kind of into. Because, like I said, I'm not into fantasy. You're probably not going to be able to get me into it unless there's a particular hook, and then it's kind of easier to communicate that and
Incest.
get you into it.
Yeah.
Incest.
Incest is
There it
the
is. I'm in.
they're fucking in space, but they're also alien brother and sister.
Love it. Aliens. There are no rules in space, guys.
Yeah.
So just saying.
Yeah.
Your shitty American Earth values mean nothing up here.
I mean, nothing in space politics.
Yeah.
Actually, incest is the only way to reproduce in space.
Little
It's
did
how
you know.
aliens do it.
So it's totally normal.
Yeah. Well, thank you for showing this to us. This was very eye-opening.
Yay!
Very fly-opening.
Eye-opening. Mouth-watering.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of orifices watering.
Yeah.
In this when you watch the show. I can't say I suggest it to everyone. But
Not
if
everyone.
If you have even a small amount of privacy in your life, go ahead and turn it on. Because this would be a show where even
Your mom's gonna kick you out of the house.
if your mom caught you watching this show at the wrong moment,
Don't.
and
At
you know
the
how
wrong moment.
parents are like that too. Like if you're watching like a really like good movie, like a drama or something like that, like an award-winning movie.
Yeah, they're gonna
like,
walk in during the sex scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, why is that timing? Do they time it? Are they waiting?
Yeah.
Are they waiting to make me feel
I
the
think
worst?
so. Yeah.
I hate that.
I mean, it's something I would do with a kid. With like if my son was like, I'd be like, "Hey, what are you doing in here?" Like,
Scaring
"Oh,
you
fucking
now."
pervert.
Yeah.
But no, even last night when I was watching it, like my fiance wasn't home from work yet, and I had the headphones on. I ended up taking one of the headphone things off
Just
so I could
in
hear when she
case.
got in because there was so much.
It's
like,
so much. I
Like I
know.
didn't want her to come in, and right when she came in, I was like, "Babe, I'm watching hentai." Just so you
I
know.
love it. Disclaimer. I love that. Yeah. My husband and I watch it together,
Mm-hmm.
and then we laugh nervously next to each other, and that's it.
Is there Food Wars character body pillows?
There better be.
Yeah.
There must be.
I
I'm
want
sure.
the food as a body pillow.
the dish.
Ooh, I want. Yeah,
Like
that
just
would
a
be
big,
amazing.
beautiful fish.
Like
oh, like
one
a
of those.
salmon, like a glistening.
Yeah.
I want like a comforter for the bed that's just a full print of that soup with the broth and the thing leaking out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and like maybe
Bury
the gold
me in that.
sparkles at the end a little.
Yeah.
Anime food always looks good.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
where can
do you-
people
do you got
find you right
anything
now?
you wanna
Oh, thank you
plug?
so much for
Anything you're
having
up to?
me. Yeah, you could check me out at youtube.com/Reina Scully on my channel. And on Instagram and Twitter, I'm just at Reina Scully everywhere. And I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for
And you're
having
gonna be.
me.
I don't know if this will air before it, but you're gonna be at RTX. This won't air before RTX, but
Yeah.
you'll be at RTX. So if you saw Raina there, congrats. When's the Crunchyroll thing that you're doing?
It's in the first week of September, the first weekend. So I believe it's September 1st into 3rd. I actually don't know how months work. I forgot. But yeah,
You'll look
first
it
week
up.
of September, CRX.
and what
I'll
are you
be
doing there at Crunchyroll?
I should be doing a couple meetings, which are meetups, which are signings, and then some panels. And I do believe I have some like fun translation things that are going on. So yeah, all just anime related
Great.
crap.
So this will definitely be up before then. So if you're in the
Awesome.
San Jose metropolitan area,
Thank you
Yeah.
so
anywhere in
much.
NorCal, then
Thank
check
you
it
for
out.
coming, and
was
we'll,
so much
we'll
fun.
definitely have to get you back on.
I want serious sports one next.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would love to explain away
off
anything.
the top of your head, like what's a serious sports one? What's the name of one?
A serious one?
Or semi-serious.
Let's see. I actually love to recommend Slam Dunk as an anime across the board to everybody. Wait, why do you guys know Slam
Well, what's the
Dunk?
Japanese?
No, it's just
how do you say it in Japanese? Like, what's the Japanese title? Of
Oh,
Slam
it's
Dunk?
literally Slam Dunk.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, even better. Is it
Yeah.
basketball?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's great.
Okay.
And it has that kind of like not Yakuza, the Yankee hair aspect
Yeah,
that you're
yeah.
talking about because
Okay.
it was done at that time. And it is the most like basketball accurate sports anime. There's also Prince of
It's
Tennis.
the most basketball accurate.
Yeah, it's so.
In the vast variety of basketball sports animes,
There's a
this
lot.
is the most accurate.
It's crazy accurate. Kind of like the way like the Food Wars is like accurate with food
Yeah,
and ingredients.
yeah.
Like it has that aspect to it,
All
and
right.
it's very fun.
Yeah, let's do that one. LeBron's coming to LA. I haven't really watched basketball in years, so I want to get back into it this year.
We'll
and
tent pole it with the NBA season.
a good basketball anime would be great for.
We should get one
getting
like
back into
we
it.
should get a player from like the Lakers or the Clippers to
And they
watch it
can
with us
analyze the moment.
and watch it with us and Reina
Yeah,
or
well-
discuss it with us and Reina.
No, that would be cool because a lot of that
They're very
anime.
accessible, especially on the Clippers.
We just get them on anytime.
Yeah.
They could analyze a scene
Yeah.
because that's actually what's popular right now on Reddit. There's an anime that's on right now called Cells at Work, and it's literally it's basically Osmosis Jones, the anime, but it is so clinically, medically, and biologically accurate that they have doctors on Reddit like kind of sift through
Oh,
the episode.
doctors on Reddit.
No, I mean it's a real doctor. It's like a Reddit AMA
I mean,
based
Dr.
on
Disrespect?
this. No, not like that. Like real, like clinical doctors, and they go over it and they analyze like how accurate it is, and you can do that with Slam Dunk.
Okay, good.
So,
Yeah, no, that would be actually pretty cool. I'll look into that. It would have been great while Blake Griffin was here, because he's funny. Anyway, he does stuff with like UCB when he was here, so that would have been hilarious. But he's gone now.
jokes on the
Yeah.
He's in
accessibles.
Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's still got a house here.
We'll get. Does Meta World Peace still play? We'll get him.
He does not
Oh
play.
my God, I haven't
He's
heard that
available.
name.
Is Matt Barnes still on the Clippers? We'll find someone.
Somewhat, hopefully.
Get Magic Johnson in here.
Oh God.
He can buy us a new studio with all of his millions of dollars. You guys can shoot down to the TGI Fridays.
All right,
Bye-bye.
let's end it.